We're now turning our attention now to developments in Nigeria ahead of 2023 elections. Accusations and counter-accusations by opposing political parties have flawed events leading to the general elections. In a recent slew of petitions, the Presidential Campaign Council of the People's Democratic Party suggests that the presidential candidate of the ruling All Progressive Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is guilty of drug-related activities and as such should be arrested by the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, and the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC. In a press release made by members of the PDP Presidential Campaign Committee, Strategic Communication and Media Teams to Public Communications to Atiku, Frank Shuaibu noted that Nigeria is in a precarious situation and any wrong decision taken in the choice of who becomes the next president could spell doom for the nation.
Shuaibu explained that the forfeiture of $460,000 by the APC presidential candidate is believed to be proceeds of the sale and distribution of heroin in the United States. Recall that in the past week, the Presidential Campaign Council of the APC also called on the EFCC to arrest and prosecute former Vice President and PDP candidate Atiku Abubakar over what it called violation of the Code of Conduct for Public Officers and the incorporation of 3 companies' special purpose vehicle to embezzle government funds through contract award. And now join us for this conversation, we have Somto Onochukwu, spokesperson PDP New Generation, and Biodun, a public affairs analyst, all join us from Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us on the conversation.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, Somto, I'd like to begin with you because we want to have a clearer picture of these allegations and petitions that have been given by the People's Democratic Party. Why are they calling for the arrest of the APC presidential candidate, Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
The reason is very, very simple and is public already. With the records that we have, a conviction from a court in Chicago, conviction of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, which led to the forfeiture of $460,000. Recall that in 1989-1988, Bola Ahmed Tinubu claimed he was an accountant who receives a salary of $2,400 a month. By 1990, he had a deposit of $661,000 into the same account, First Heritage Bank. By 1991, he had another deposit of $1.2 million. This raised suspicion with the U.S. authorities, who carried out an investigation and later reached a conclusion that these monies were proceeds of narcotics, specifically money laundering. For this reason, Bola Tinubu was made to forfeit $460,000 of this money to the U.S. government. Innocent people do not forfeit money to the U.S. government. The reason why PDP is calling for the arrest of Bola Tinubu is simple. If there is a chance that a notorious drug dealer is heading to the Aso Rock, I think all Nigerians should be concerned and all relevant agencies should sit up and carry out thorough investigation on these accusations. These are not mere accusations. There is already a conviction and a certified true copy is already public. Everyone can see it. If you are innocent, you will not be made to forfeit $460,000 as of 1991. That is huge money for someone who claims to be earning $2,400. So this calls for concern. If you recall in Panama, when Noriega ran for president, he turned the state into a narcotic state, which has led to the destruction of that country. We must not allow such to happen in Nigeria. Everyone must raise their antenna and probe Bola Tinubu properly before he even stands for that position. And peradventure, he's allowed to stand for that position. Even voters should make sure that he does not win that election, because Nigeria cannot afford dealing with a drug case with all the other issues that we are dealing with right now.
Thank you, Somto. I'd like to bring in Biodun in Lagos. Biodun, what do you make of all of this? accusations and counter-accusations by the two major political parties in Nigeria. What does it say about the state of our democracy? This has come in 30 days, less than 40 days to the general elections. What do you make of, and these are very serious allegations by both sides.
Yes. We've had allegations made on both sides. We had Atiku went to US and suddenly we saw certified true copies of some court documents surfacing upon which a campaign was renewed against Tinubu. We also saw an Atiku head, Mike Achimugu, suddenly, allegedly squealing the beans on his master and releasing a tape, which I have no reason to think or not to think is Atiku. It's up to the jury's out. And then again, we also have APC trying to feast on that. Both parties have called for the arrest, investigation, and if need be, the prosecution of each one of them. What seems to be clear to me is that both are the two candidates are the two leading candidates in the country. And I know they are very close, and they've also worked together in the same political party, at one time or the other. They came from a background of from the NigeriaDecides2023 group, which both of them were operators of that group. So there is bound to be tense and heated rivalry between the two leading candidates. No doubt, those are the two candidates for this election. The others are just psychics. Now, we have this renewed tension. What is true, what is not true, in reality is very clear. When you look at the case of Atiku, I don't see any authority willing to go into investigating Atiku at a point in time when he's contesting for the presidency. Yes, there is no law that says you cannot be arrested or prosecuted, but how will that help? It will only eat up the...
Biodun, can you hear me? Now, looking at... Okay, go on, please.
On Tinubu... Okay. Excuse me.
I said, go on, please. Sorry, go on, please.
Okay. On Tinubu's part also, it is most unlikely to have a Tinubu, being probed on a crime not committed, allegedly, a crime not committed in Nigeria. So it's a very basic principles of law that that Nigeria will have no jurisdiction if indeed any crime, was committed as alleged by the PDP. We have no jurisdiction except you can show that it was a cross-border crime, that will give cause to jurisdiction in Nigeria. So therefore, those who are calling for Tinubu to be tried by NDLEA or whoist know that is a dead end to start with. They may have a case on Alpha Beta asking EFCC to look into it. They could have a good case on that. But I recall that Ibadu himself said he has investigated this and nothing has been found. But that does not mean that it can't be reinvestigated. Any crime alleged can be investigated at any point in time. But it is most unlikely that both leading candidates will be investigated while these, before the February 25 elections, in my view.
Okay. Now, so looking at all these allegations, I mean, you're talking about the allegations, talking about drug trafficking on the APC candidate, Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Of course, you also know, as you clearly stated, that there were also allegations put forward on your principal, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. Now, don't you see all these allegations also having a dent on Atiku Abubakar, who is your principal of the party?
Allegations or what I call an attempt of blackmail towards Atiku Abubakar. The reason why I call it an attempt of blackmail is that what I heard was someone recording conversations between him or someone who and his friends. Now we have not verified whether those conversations are real or not. But even if they were, from the record I heard, SPV is a special purpose vehicle. Companies use that. That also, in that record, an article stated that at the instance of his boss, he was not the president. That's even if that recording is anything true. because I doubt that recording, because it's coming from a place of anger, someone who is claiming that he has been fired. But I want to point out something that my brother Biodun said in Lagos. He said, if the case of Bola Tinubu is in our jurisdiction, I think it is. There is a treaty. Drug trafficking and money laundering is an international crime. There is an MLAT treaty. MLAT, Nigeria is part of that treaty. It makes us responsible for bringing Bola Tinubu to book. It gives us the power to bring up that judgment from the Chicago court and try it again. There is no status of limitation on criminal cases. We should not, sorry about that. We should not neglect this issue. We should not throw it at the background. It is something that we must take seriously, because the repercussions are very dire. The consequences are dire of having a notorious drug lord as a president. So we must prevent that. We must prevent that. So it is in our jurisdiction. It's an international crime. This is also already a convicted case, not an allegation. This is not this is not about politics. It's about the seriousness of the accusation. If you must notice, there has been a series of arrests by the NDLEA recently, since this election started from 2002, last year, even up till now. Recently, one happened in Lagos by Lekki. About 5-point-something kg of drugs was seized. But before it was seized, the custom officer, Sani, in that report, said that some unknown agents from the government tried to stop them from seizing that. Imagine that, unknown agents from the government tried to stop the customs from seizing a contraband drug, 5-point-something kg. Now, you recall, I'm not saying this is linked to Bola Tinubu or anything, but the last time this kind of thing happened, this kind of thing was happening in Colombia when Pablo Escobar was running for president. That is the kind of thing you start hearing. Big drug busts, some being intercepted, some being re-intercepted and seized. So these are things that we should take very seriously. NDLEA and the EFCC must take it seriously. We are talking money laundering here. We are talking drug trafficking here. We cannot afford state-sponsored drug trafficking. It's going to ruin Nigeria. Remember that terrorists work with these things as well. Drugs. Okay. They work.
Thank you, Somto. Let me bring in Biodun into this conversation. Yes. Now, Biodun, earlier you did allude that, there are only two front runners in these elections and the other parties are outsiders. But Nigerians will beg to disagree. They will say, the Labour Party has become the third force in these elections, and they're quite a threat. So now, seeing that both major political parties have this serious allegations, they've been trading blames and serious allegations against each other, what impact will this have on the results of the elections? Do you think it will be enough to sway undecided voters that, look, although there are allegations, but these are very questionable people, so why don't I go for the alternative that seems to have a clean bill of health? What do you make of this?
Yes, before I will deal with that, but I need to correct the misinformation being fed to the public by this PDP spokesperson. First and foremost, it is tried in law. Go and find that from any lawyer. If you have no jurisdiction, if a crime is not committed in a particular country, you have no jurisdiction over it. That is the first thing. Number two, you are also not informing the public correctly. The Tinubu was never, you said it was not an allegation. Tinubu was never convicted of any crime. He reached a settlement with the United States government and forfeited $460,000 out of over $1 million was returned to him. If it was a proceed of drug, then they would have seized the whole money. We all know this, but we also know what happened where in United States or in Europe, if you run foul of the law, you have a general, charge being, placed before you. I lived in UK for 20 years. I know these things for a fact. And then you have to defend yourself. What the state cannot prove, you have to pay, charge for for any minor infringement so that you get punished one way or the other. So in this case of Tinubu, there is no conviction. I repeat that. It's still what you are coming up with is an allegation of a crime not committed within the jurisdiction of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And if you alluded to the fact that the issue of drug is something which is international. I am saying to you, you gave a very wrong example in Noriega. The issue of Noriega was framed up by America over the Panama Canal negotiation when he refused to extend, the contract for Panama Canal access in his own best country's interest, and he was now accused of that. He's still in prison in US. So it's totally an inappropriate case. If you want to fight a case and you want to fight with Tinubu, please face the issues that we have jurisdiction to look into in Nigeria. Don't go to issues where we do not have jurisdiction. You and I know NDLEA would not go to America to start investigating Tinubu as far back as 1992 on a case that the American government itself could not even charge him or prosecute him for. This is the truth of the matter. So whether we play politics or we don't play politics, we need to remember one thing. The youths are looking forward, they're looking up to all of us. They expect the leaders to tell them the truth. They do not expect us to feed them with lies. And
does this put Labour Party in favor of the youths now? Because you also, just like Gbenga talked about, we see allegations on the two parties, and you said the youths are also looking for a good candidate. Does this put Labour Party in front of these two candidates?
Your question presupposes that Labour Party controls the youth. I have been around the country and have spoken to youth. Apart from urban centers like Lagos, some in Abuja, largely. I've been to Enugu recently and Port Harcourt. Those are where you have the youth. The vast majority of the youths are living in rural areas. They have not even heard of Obi. They know Atiku. They know Tinubu, but not an Obi. You need to go and check this out. We are only talking about a percentage of youths on social media. Those are the people who are well familiar with Peter Obi. That is the truth of the matter.
But Mr. Biodun, we've seen rallies. Peter Obi has been around the country. We've seen his rallies in Kano, in Kaduna, and there's quite the turnout has been quite large. So, and I don't think that is social media. So, how do you respond to that? These are human beings that went to the rallies.
I was in Osogbo when Obi came to campaign for Lasun Yusuf, the gubernatorial candidate of Labour Party there. He has since left the party. I was there. Over 158,000 estimated crowd. Lasun Yusuf had only 2,640 votes. Obi campaigned there. That does not reflect on the reality on what's on the ground. Lasun Yusuf was so frustrated that he had to leave the Labour Party. So when you see people attending rally, they attend for different reasons. Stomach infrastructure, people are being mobilized. All parties are guilty of it. I'm not saying Peter Obi's Labour Party. That is what our youths, our people are doing currently. There is poverty in the land, and they understand that.
I'd like to bring Somto into this because we're running far out of time. Because these allegations are put forward that we're expecting a response from the EFCC, the ICBC Code of Conduct Bureau. You're calling for the arrest and prosecution and the resignation of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. If this does not happen, what is the stand of your party?
Answer that, please. I would like to call my brother to order when he said I was wrong. Please, in that certified true copy, it was stated that the document was for Tinubu's funds were forfeited pursuant to 21 U.S. Supreme Court Constitution, Section 881. In that section, it says all monies, negotiable instruments, securities, or other things of value furnished or intended to be furnished by any person in exchange for a controlled substance or listed chemical in violation of this subchapter. All proceeds traceable to such an exchange. So if $460,000 falls into this controlled substance is narcotics, please,
the issue of conviction too, but I want you to answer Rita's question before we wrap up, please.
So talking about affecting candidates at the polls, what we are saying here, we are not talking about path to victory or no path to victory.
No, the question is, if the EFCC and all those people do not make an arrest, what will be the next step for your party? How would you react to that?
Like the beginning, there are different stages of trying to stop a potential drug. I'm not saying he is yet. The hell, if he's a drug lord, a potential one, he must investigate. There are steps. First, if they fail to investigate, we have the pools to win. Nigerians must make sure that they vote out APC in that election. That's one. We are also calling on the international community to look into the election for rigging. Yes, because we don't want electoral malpractice. We have already seen where Senator Tinubu's wife voted against the use of beavers in this election. So it's already obvious they are not preparing to have a free and fair election. So Nigerians must bring up their three-pronged defense system to make sure that this potential drug lord does not become our president. After the investigations, if it doesn't happen, we go to the polls and make sure he does not win that election.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen.
While we're also waiting for investigations, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I'm sure you're also waiting for the investigations on Atiku Abubakar, who they have also been corruption allegations put forward against him.
Investigated former vice president in the history of Nigeria. He's free. He's open to investigation.
All right. Thank you so much, Somto.
Thank you, gentlemen. This is how much you can take. Thank you, Somto, Onochukwu, spokesperson, PDP New Generation, and Biodun Sowunmi, public affairs analyst. So we do appreciate your contribution.
Thank you. And this is where we'll call it a wrap on today's edition of The Conversation. On the first half, we looked at situations in Burkina Faso, where the military government has told France troops to withdraw from the country and allow it defend itself. And we just finished conversations in Nigeria, where there have been accusations and counter-accusations between the two parties, the People's Democratic Party and the All Progressives Congress. Well, we do wait for the EFCC, ICPC, while, of course, Nigerians gear up for the 2023 elections on February 20.